Next up is a writer who frequently loses battles of wits against her students and her stories. Because You'll Never Meet Me, her debut YA novel about oddball pen pals, is forthcoming from Bloomsbury in 2015. A graduate of Clarion 2010, more of her speculative fiction has appeared in Asimov's, Black Static, 3LBE, Pseudopod, and Ideomancer, among others. Tea is her lifeblood, and when she is not huddled in cafes, she's usually at home pricking her fingers in service of cosplay. Maybe she'll explain that, I don't know. It's hard to be a dork, but she makes a good go of it. Please put your hands together for Leah Thomas.
If I touch it, it'll break.
No, it won't.
Break.
There we go.
All right, so I can say now, as of yesterday, that we have a publication month, and it's February.
Hey!
They don't tell you things very quickly, I tell you what. Anyway, I'm going to read you parts of the first 2 chapters of my young adult novel. Because You'll Never Meet Me. Chapter 1, The Laser Beam. Dear fellow hermits, my name is Oliver, but most people who meet me end up calling me Ollie. I guess you don't really have to, though, because odds are you'll never meet me. I can never travel to wherever you are, because a big part of what makes me a hermit is the fact that I'm deathly allergic to electricity. This is kind of massively incapacitating, but hey, everyone has problems, right? I think never being able to meet me is sort of a shame, because I'm not too boring. I can juggle forks like nobody's business, for starters. I'm also pretty great at kanji calligraphy, and I can whittle a piece of pine into anything. Well, anything made of pine. Dr. Auburnstash, I swear that's his real name, is impressed by how quickly I can list off every bone in the human body, from the distal phalanx of my ugliest toe, all the way up to the frontal bone above my eyes. I've read more books than I've got hairs on my head, and I am just months away from mastering the glockenspiel. In case you didn't know, the glockenspiel is like the metallic, cooler older brother of the xylophone. I know what you're thinking, but you'd be surprised how living alone in the woods can warm a person to the delights of glockenspieling. Beyond all that stuff, the most interesting thing about me is that I'm lovesick. I mean all that poetical nonsense about feeling the urge to carve a girl's name into notebooks and desks and trees. I'm not talking about moonlit serenades either, because even my wheezing cat is a better singer than I am. I mean that if I wanted to be around this girl, Liz, her name is Liz, under normal circumstances I could die. If I ever wanted to take her out to, I don't know, an arcade? Isn't that what you call those mystical places that are just wall-to-wall electric games? The moment I walked into a bleeping basement full of neon lights and racing simulators, I'd collapse and start seizing like there's no tomorrow. Which there might not be if I hit my head the wrong way. I don't think that's what most people mean by lovesickness, fellow hermit. If I took this girl out to a movie, and I would love to, what are movies like? The buzzing of the projector behind us would make my eyelids twitch. The shrill screeching of phones in other people's pockets would drive emerald ice picks into my temples, and the dim lights overhead would burn white and gold in my retinas. Maybe I'd even swallow my tongue. But I read somewhere that people with epileptic fits don't actually swallow their tongues. They do bite their tongues, though. One time after a big seizure, I chomped right through mine, and it took Auburnstash like 7 stitches on the top and 5 on the bottom to make it heal up afterwards. For more than 2 weeks, I wandered around our cabin saying things like, "What's going on?" and "Yef, please," while Mom just shook her head at me, exasperated. Mom's always exasperated. Her face is pretty creased up most of the time, especially around her eyes, even when she's smiling. That's mostly my fault, I think. I would never say anything to her about it because I think it would upset her that I noticed, and then she might lock herself in the garage again for a day or 2, or even longer this time. Mom's watching while I'm writing this by candlelight. She's probably wondering if you'll even be able to read it. Mom says I've got the handwriting of a drunk doctor. One time I asked Dr. Auburnstash if he would consider drinking some moonshine. Isn't that what people are supposed to drink in the woods? And then write me a sonnet so I could compare our penmanship, when he just snickered behind his goatee and patted me on the shoulder. Well, what was I talking about? Liz's parents are social workers, and she thinks I have some kind of attention deficit disorder because sometimes my thoughts careen away from my brain and I blab, blab, and blab. So tell me about you. Who are you? Mom won't say where she plans to send this letter. All she says is that Auburnstash knows another kid somewhere out there, a couple years older than me, with his own set of bizarre medical issues. What with everything that has happened to me this year, she thought I could use someone to talk to. She thinks I need help, but she's overreacting. It's not like I've stopped eating. Sometimes a guy just doesn't want tuna sandwiches. It doesn't mean I'm sick, or any sicker than usual, because how many people you know are allergic to electricity? About that, I'll try explaining, but if you ask why I'm allergic to electricity, I'll just throw my hands up and sigh. I've always been this way. It's the ultimate mystery in my neck of the woods. Might have something to do with a top secret laboratory, though, which is compelling, right? You're intrigued now, aren't you, fellow hermit? I think being an experiment sounds way better than being sick, you know? So maybe Dr. Auburnstash met your parents at that secret hush-hush laboratory. Maybe the same one where my dad got sick. I don't know much about my dad, but he was some sort of doctor or scientist because Mom keeps his lab coat hanging in her wardrobe. I don't know who he was, but I know she misses him. If she misses him anything like how much I miss Liz, then no wonder she locks the doors and sometimes doesn't get out of bed. Maybe you can tell me anything you know about laboratories in your next letter, since I went to bug Mom about it just now and she told me to sit back down and try, for the love of pajamas, to stay on topic for once. How? I've never had to stay on topic before. Just you alone in a forest of pine trees for your whole life. There's really no reason not to meander. No one's ever around to tell me to shut up. I mean, apart from the mailman and a few others, hardly anyone around here has ever even seen me. Liz told me that some people believe my cabin is an urban legend. Wish I could ride to town and show them what's what. But there's this power line halfway down our long driveway, right? And the orange tendrils of electricity that dangle down from it never let me pass underneath it. Those little wisps of tangerine light actually yanked me off my bike once and threw me headfirst into a tree trunk. What I've got is a bit weirder than an allergy when you get right down to it. Sometimes it's more like mutual repulsion or something. Like when you put two magnets with the same polarization nose to nose and they catapult each other across the table. Mom says I'm almost off topic again and I should focus. People ever tell you to focus? What does that even mean? Whenever Mom or Auburnstash say, "Focus, Oliver," I try to wrangle my thoughts into the shape of a laser beam. I've seen laser beams on the covers of my favorite pulpy sci-fi novels. See, I've even painted some. I usually paint what my aura shows me when I look at electricity. Saffron slashing walkie-talkies, sunbursts floating out of headlights. Before it knocks me flat, electricity can be really cool to look at. Every single machine gives off its own brand of colorful energy, and my seizures are triggered by all of them, anything and everything electric. I love all those electric things people seem to superglue to themselves. Phones lend the faces they're pressed against a luminous sheen. Headphones coat ears in minty residue. The laptops are the best. Fingers on keyboards are traced by trails of light, like long blades of grass. You might be wondering whether I'm complaining or not. I'm not really sure. Mom says the way I see things sounds beautiful, but I'm not sure that the sight of rainbow explosions is worth toasting a bunch of my brain cells over. It's not really beautiful when I'm on the floor, rattled with tremors. I know this sounds unswallowable, but it's so real to me. It's the reason I'm bored, but not boring. Why I'm stuck out here by myself. At least when Liz used to come by, I could act like I was normal, just like she is. For minutes, I talked to her about her school stuff, and it was almost like I was the sort of kid who could go there with her, who could text during class and type essays and later come home on a bus and plot myself in front of a television and eat food from a microwave. Those sound magical, fellow hermit. She doesn't come by anymore. I don't think I want to talk about what it feels like some evenings when I'm waiting outside in the dusty driveway and Liz doesn't come biking down it smiling. When she doesn't come biking down it frowning even. When she doesn't come biking down it at all, and I just stare at the same old jack pines as ever, and the same old stumps, and inhale the same old smell of emptiness and sap until it gets dark out. What I was saying about laser beams. I'm going to try and beam my life story to you, and you can write me your story back. I want to make sure you exist, fellow hermit. I thought I've ever done half of what you have. I would trade all my glockenspiel skills for a chance to go online, or to ride a school bus, or to feel air conditioning. Mom says that 15 double-sided pages are enough to scare anyone away, so I'll stop here at page 14. Write me soon. It's boring here, did I mention that? Ollie ollie up and free. Chapter 2, The Pacemaker. Oliver. Firstly, my father has confirmed that your penmanship is atrocious. At least you can spell. I would hate to outmatch you in your own language. How embarrassing that would be for you. I am sick of people deciding that being young means being ineloquent. Yet the idiots who attend school with me are too preoccupied with gossip to care about language. I do not expect them to meet my standards, but you needn't be a wunderkind to educate yourself. I despise other people my age. Jugendliche. Let them rot. You mentioned Japanese, but the glockenspiel is a German musical instrument. Can't you speak and write auf Deutsch? I doubt you are aware. The glockenspiel has been used in hip-hop music. I pity your ears for never having been graced by Public Enemy. Secondly, you are correct. We will not be meeting. This has little to do with your deafening personality. I am electric. Exposure to me would floor you. Doubtless that hyperactive mind of yours is already jumping to outlandish conclusions. My, is he an android? What sort of monstrosity is he, the son of one of my doctor's old friends? What is he that he is electric? A reanimated corpse, veins coursing with lightning? Oh boy! Calm yourself. This is not science fiction. This is not fun. For the past 5 years, my heart has only remained pumping with the assistance of a small apparatus that feeds electric pulses into its lower left chamber. If I ever met you, the electricity in my ribcage would trigger your seizures. If I shut off my pacemaker to spare you that, my blood flow would weaken. I could go into shock or even cardiac arrest. You could kill me, Oliver. You and I will certainly never meet. And yet, I do have a morbid interest in continuing our correspondence. I may have chuckled once while Father read your words to me yesterday evening. If I were sickened by phones, by vehicles and amplifiers, and not merely sickened by my classmates, perhaps I would resort to babbling as well. Not that this excuses you. I thought I had seen everything, but your mother is right. Your worldview is remarkable. So is your ear-splitting enthusiasm. So I do not blame her for hiding in the garage. I'm not certain that I want to share the details of my life with you. I do not trust you, Oliver. I am uncomfortable spitting every thought I have ever had onto paper. People like you do not realize what power words have. Words are impossible to see. Words can be twisted in so many directions. Some of us are more careful with them. As for your questions about secret laboratories, I am not nearly as interested in this subject as you are. Talk about something you know about. If you don't want to be bored, don't bore me. There's nothing fascinating about laboratories, in my experience. Tell me more about your life if you must. Besides, it's more entertaining if I do not speak.